fast forward like many years after leaving school, and the teachers in there and stuff, you'll never amount to anything. You're like, you teach PE, it's not going to be enough. You're not going to learn a living from sports. And like that again, now I'm earning a living from sports, but sports in terms of coaching to help people achieve and unlock their capabilities.
Friend, here's something I don't know if you know. While the podcast is a thought of mine for a long time, thinking of me absolutely could not be doing this without our very own Wizard of Oz, Kyle, at Goodnight Podcasting Solutions. Kyle's turnaround time, dedication and level of service means that I never have to second guess or worry about the level of support in getting our messaging out to you. If you're curious as to starting your own podcast or just want to see how it might spread your message, reach out to Kyle at kylegoodnight.com or check our show notes. I mean it when I say that we couldn't be doing this without him. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Thinking of Me podcast. I'm really excited to open season 2 with Jonathon Hickey. Jonathon is an old friend who gave me a chance for my first episode on his podcast, Built by JH Fitness, and that's why it was very obvious from the get-go Jonathon had to be one of our first guests, and I thought in honour of opening season 2 after having our women-only speakers last season, Jonathon has the grace to come on and share some of his journey in that as well. So Jonathon, maybe if you want to introduce yourself, kind of how you brand your niche, what it is you do, and why the fitness industry is something that's important for you.
Well, first and foremost, Lauren, absolutely grateful to be able to return the favour and stuff that have coming on and opening up season 2. So much of appreciation to you for thinking of me to come on, and for those that obviously that are listening, to your listeners, and for me, I'm just a regular, authentic family guy when it comes to it, and what you see is what you get when you come to me in terms of coaching. But I run my own online and offline coaching business in terms of JH Fitness. The podcast is Built by JH Fitness, as Lauren has mentioned, and check that episode out with Lauren that we have recorded past and previously. And how it probably would have all stemmed about for me was going back to school and stuff like that, whatever, and even in like primary school, people understanding back then, they were saying stuff, they didn't realise the context and stuff in terms of what they were saying. The usual names for those that obviously can see this, and when it goes out or whatever way it's distributed, is I do have ginger hair, and if you've got ginger hair and stuff like that, you called every name underneath the sun when it came to school. From Carrot Top, and the last time I checked, the Carrot Top was orange, or was not orange, it was green, the little leaf on top of it, and all of those things. And it, thinking back upon it and stuff, and I've discussed this openly, potentially, yes, it didn't bother back then, but in one way it did, because obviously it kind of shaped where I was going to go. So like, I always had an avid interest in sports. If you ask my mother and stuff, like someone that you'll know, Lauren, and stuff, what was he doing? Well, he was always had the ball. He was always out. He was always doing this. He was always whatever. And that was like an outlet, or what some people will term it now and stuff, like, as an escapism. But like that again, that shaped everything. And like from there and stuff like that, people that would be friends of mine now, back then, they did bully me. To them, they weren't understanding. They were just like, oh, the cool kids in the playground or whatever. Even in, like, primary school, secondary school, like, on buses going to fucking, sorry, one course, on summer camps and stuff like that. And it's that thing of it and stuff like that, like, and kids not understanding, what they're saying. And then that, as I said, it shaped what everything. So like, I went, when I did, like, fast forward like many years after leaving school, and the teachers in there and stuff, you'll never amount to anything. You're like, you teach PE, it's not going to be enough. You're not going to learn a living from sports. And like that again, now I'm earning a living from sports, but sports in terms of coaching to help people achieve and unlock their capabilities. If I was to listen to the naysayers and stuff of that and allow their influence me, or their opinion, well, then I probably potentially wouldn't be sat here, talking to you. Or I wouldn't went on to help people that I have helped, and help them realise that there's so much more to them than there is to anything else, when it comes to it. Because you've been on an incredible journey, which you've obviously got to, bring to the fore as well. From what you do, yes, the weight loss and the fat loss and everything is the thing that everybody goes to somebody for.
Yeah.
It is absolutely nothing got to do with that. Why? Because you're trying to rebuild back up the person, the individual, so your self-esteem, be compassionate with yourself, building upon your mindset, as a byproduct, all of those pounds, kilos, baggage, mental baggage, all of that leaves you. And then you have got this totally different transformation stuff, and that's what I do. They're like, there's people that are with me, and like that again, it's been told they shouldn't do X, they shouldn't do Y, and I was like, why? Because someone was too lazy to do their homework, to help and put you in a position. And that's like, obviously, as your listeners can see or obviously hear, I'm very passionate about it. Why? Because again, it was from me being told no. If I listen to people, no, friends and family and stuff like that, say, what are you doing? You're mad. You're going self-employed route. I was like, yes, and so what? If it doesn't work out, I can go back and go and get another gym. But I'll be damn sure and stuff like that. I'll do everything in my power not to go. And that's why, like, coaching is important to me. Because, like, God forgive me, and if there's any kind of coaches, trainers, whatever, and I use inverted commas when it comes to coaches, because everybody wants to call themselves a coach these days. But any monkey can get somebody to sweat.
Yeah.
But it's the true understanding and stuff of the individual and the client-centered approach of the person that
Yeah.
sat in front of you
Yeah.
or standing in front of you, whatever the case may be, on a consultation and stuff. And I do all my stuff either in person from a consultation point of view, or like this, virtually and stuff like that, if it's from a geographical location, reason, whatever. And that's the thing, because people don't understand. There's so much more. And I think the human connection and stuff like that is lost in terms of it. Yeah, everything is great and online is perfectly fine. That's great. I have to do that myself, and so I'm not raining on that parade. But the missing element of it, and I discussed this as of today when this episode will go out. So was recording this on the 5th to the 12th of December 2024. I said to somebody this morning and stuff, if you come to me and I'm not listening to you, or I don't understand you, or I don't understand your personal, professional life, like your kids, I want to be involved in your life as much as you want to be involved in mine. And that's the thing. That's the broken thing. Some online coaches are incredibly good at it. Some will say they're very good at it. But there's a mix and stuff like that. And that's why I love the blended approach. Why? Because I love the human connection. We have the bit of banter, bit of crack and stuff like that with it. And that's the unsexy side of it, because at the end of the day, people buy people when it comes to investing. You would have invested. I know you've heavily invested in your personal development, so like that again, that's a big thing. Why did you invest in people or the person or the product? You didn't invest in X mastermind because of what it was going to do for you. You invested in the person because of what they were saying in their message. And sorry for the
100%.
ramble.
No, like the ramble's perfect because there's so much in there, Jonathan. And I want to start by saying, and for friends listening, if you're listening to this without the visual, go and take a look at the YouTube video or hear some of the clips. Jonathan is very festive with his Christmas t-shirt that he's on him. And as he mentioned there, kind of in terms of hair coloring and that, you can definitely see the character because it is the character of the person. It can be the same message, but I know I mentioned this when I was chatting with you as well, Jonathan. Like, it's the little things that stand out. And like, I remember with your frog feet, with the gloves for your toes, for the socks, those sock things. I don't know their official, what they're actually called.
They're
There was
called
frog feet
Vibram.
thing. Which, sorry?
They're called Vibrams, but you can call them frog feet or duck feet is what some people will call them.
Yeah, I'm sure some of your listeners might know, or anyone who is listening of our friends that has used them. I'm just saying that there's key things about people that do stick, and when we can be heard from our message or hear that message from someone that we resonate with. Like, I look at my coach and like my fitness side of things, Jonathan, like talk about being told that that's what I had to do. I was kind of the exact opposite of you. You would not see me with a hurler ball. And if you did, I was like doing something that I wasn't meant to be doing because I just did not want to be there. And it was kind of constantly the thing of like being told, oh, you have to go and like lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And I knew I wanted to, but then it takes a click of a message from where you need to hear it, I think, or see it in someone. And the same now coming down this road of, as you say, like with the personal development and the coaching and the self-education industry, it's some of the mentors that I've followed the last couple of years that when they say it, it's like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense now. And I can kind of, you do hear it, I think. You said in there, Jonathan, like that with your clients and the client center approach and looking at the human. And then with your origins of that kind of bullying, and kids just say the truth at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And like, we're great now that as adults we know more, so now we can teach the kids more. We're more aware of language and words and all that kind of thing. So we're kind of seeing that come up a bit differently, and I know you're two, and maybe you've spotted that with them. Kind of the difference of awareness compared to maybe from 20 years ago and more.
yeah,
But when you look at your clients and you have that empathy, and kind of some of the things that can be said, or some of those feelings that do come up because of that one thing, either from someone else or just how they're feeling as a result of it all stacking, is there a certain way, Jonathan, that you kind of would always go about it with each client, or is all your programming, I mean, I know the basics are the basics, like calories in, calorie out, and so on, but yeah, what would you say is kind of your go-to really with someone who comes to you, either first or when you're starting to see that they're hitting that bit of a plateau, which we all do when we start the journey?
yeah. Like, it's a great question and stuff, and there's so many variables and stuff like that. Yes, like technically science is science and evidence is evidence and stuff like that, and the evidence and the science points us towards calories in versus calorie out. It's like a weighing scales for people that are, can see, like, if you've got like heavier on this side and it's lighter on this side, well then, from a food perspective, you're dropping weight. If it's in the flip reverse and you're consuming more, well then boom, then you've got your body fat and everything and you feel absolutely shit. But it's so much more deeper than that. Why? Because, like, that again, is first and foremost, people have got to understand. They might actually, they think they need it and they want and stuff like that. Unfortunately, they'll want it, but they're not like the idea of what the process entails.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, everybody that comes to me and stuff like that. Yes, some people will lose weight, some people won't. Why? Because, like, they're placing all their eggs in the wrong baskets. But when someone comes to me, whatever, and like, I'll meet them as an individual, because everyone, like, will say, yeah, my program's individualized and it's personalized and it's all this. It's not. Sorry, it's not. I'm telling you right now here, it's not. Why? I'm not saying everybody, because that would be probably wrong. But a majority of them, stuff like that, that's so called and stuff, people have it out there. They're not 24/7 WhatsApp. What are you doing? Waiting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that, waiting for Jonathan text you. Hey, I didn't get to consume my porridge. No, you're not. You're asleep. So
Yeah.
that's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, I made that mistake in the past because I thought that's what was needed, and I was like, "Oh, fuck that!" I said, "I'm not 24/7." I said, "Now I've got two kids and stuff, so like, that again is they're going to wake up, they're going to be center stage. I'm not getting back to." And the people know that because they're understanding. But when they do, a challenge does arise, it stems from what you've done foundational wise to get them to understand. One thing is not always going to move linearly. So
Yeah.
like, it's the incredible measuring of metrics. So, as an example, obviously without mentioning names and stuff, like, there's an individual that, like, has been coming for me for quite some time, and we've become quite, close in terms of like a coaching relationship and stuff. And for them, like, they came with the initial thing of weight loss, but we had
Yeah.
to unpack so much baggage. There will be trauma in there which I won't discuss for obvious reasons. But like that again is, I had to talk to that person. That person has cried, and that's not me making them cry. By the way, just that I don't make people cry. Um, why? Why did that person feel the need to cry in front of me? Because they felt safe. I created that safe space for them. As I say to every person that comes through the door, and I coach family and stuff like that as well, and family and relations and whatever, and mixed in between, is, I know you know somebody that's coming to me. I'm telling you here right now that if you come inside the door of the coaching studio, what is said in here is not going any further. You wanted to go and discuss X, Y, and Z with the person, go be my guest, but they will not hear from me. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. When something is said, then, oh yeah, I heard that before. Oh, who said that? Doesn't matter. And it's that thing, because like that again is that the trust, the like, the know, the trust, the rapport that you build with someone. And then how do we navigate the struggle and stuff? Like, if we use the weight loss aspect, well, we've got to, like, have the deeper, harder questions sometimes. Come on, are you actually being consistent, and are you actually tracking? Are you actually saying what you're doing, say you're doing? Are you, being mindful around certain things? And like that again is I've done it past and previously. May leave something just as a test. It's like the Simpsons thing where Lisa has the hamster, whatever, in the cage for
Oh yeah.
people, and she's trying to test the hamster and Bart's thing, whatever, and who takes the food first. Obviously, one gets a shock first. No, I didn't go around shocking other people either. Just to put that out there, disclaimer. But what I did was I left some stuff on the thing inside where I coach, and I always do it. I say, can you recall to me what you've had in the last 24 hours? Bearing in mind 5 minutes ago and stuff like that, then maybe after having something, right? So we'll recall. Okay, so you've recalled everything. Yes. But what about what you've just consumed like 5 minutes ago? And it's something as simple as that, because unfortunately for the person, they're not consciously aware sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Or like, they don't track, certain things because it's got no calories. Everything has calories to an extent. And that's the thing. It does, unfortunately. Things that are marked, unless, like, unfortunately, like, if it says 1 calorie spray on a wall calorie spray bottle, it has 1 calorie. It's not zero,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And that's me going off on one in terms of what I see in the industry. 0 calorie spray. No, it's not. It clearly says 1 calorie on it. I can read. I'm not, I'm not illiterate, and unfortunately, some people aren't in a position to read. But we overcome that thing by having those deeper, harder conversations with the person to help them understand. It's not to bash them, because
Yeah.
like that again is by bashing somebody that doesn't achieve anything. That just makes them retreat more, and then they're like, well, big two-finger salute to you, and off you go on your merry way. And that's how I approach it with it. But like getting to understand, like, if they've had like a tough week personally, professionally, if they've had a row with their husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, everything in between. These days, I don't want to leave anybody out. And it's that thing with it. It's like you all so many other external environmental stressors that are going on that catch people that they don't understand. As an example, one of the individuals last night that I coach, whatever, like he was like, "Oh, my energy is just flat." And I was like, "Well, you know what you should have done? You should have had 2 shots of espresso, whatever." And he just started laughing. And he's like, "Oh, I don't understand. I don't understand why." And then we got talking as the coaching went on, and I said, "Remember when you said you just felt flat and your energy was wherever?" I said, "Yes, because you just been up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Like you've had to attend to other things. You didn't go back to get to go to sleep. So your
Yeah.
sleep is disrupted. Your sleep then disrupts everything else the next day. You don't have the energy. You want to consume the energy dense products in terms of, like, for me it's cookies. Give me a cookie any day over chicken, broccoli, rice, curry sauce, anything of that nature, and I'll be perfectly fine. I know from a healthy point of view that's not feasible 24/7. Why? And that's why I get that across to the people and stuff when we help them unpack their struggles. But it's that thing. You've got to meet the individual. When you start, where they're at, not where you want them to be in terms of what I do, or potentially, for you, in your coaching business is like you might envision where you want to bring them, but you can't go right today. We're going to do boom, 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 and the person's like, I can't even tie my shoelaces, and you want me to do 10x more, and that's just like, from a thing, as I say, like, even like to give people a little bit of a background before anybody will start coaching with me. If obviously they can't get to me here, they will do video analysis and stuff in terms of movements that I will ask them to do for me. And then I would always encourage them to make the journey. Like, I make the journey from where I live, to give people a bit of context, in Ennis County Clare, up to Wexford, to my coach, up to Mr. Lachlan Gannon. That's a 3 hour trip. But like that again, we're refining certain things. I don't go there every week, but I'll
Yeah.
make the thing, and that's why I'll ask people from a geographical location, reason, or kind of challenge, friction point of view, to come, and we can unpack certain things. But anybody that comes in physically and stuff like that, they're on the massage bed. We go through a posture movement assessment. We don't lift weights potentially only for the last 15 minutes of the session, and that's 2 to 3 movements. And they're like, "Oh, I expected to be running around the place here," and I was like, "Nah, not with me, unfortunately." I said, like, if I want to get you to run and stuff, go join a running club, you know, or just go run yourself. Put on your runners and do a Forrest Gump on it and just run till your heart's content. When you're here, I'm going to get you doing things that you can't replicate outside. If you want to go run, go run. You want to go cycle your bike, cycle your bike. We'll do conditioning stuff. You're familiar with the term conditioning stuff or finishers or whatever it is. We'll do those things here because you're most likely not going to do those things outside. And that can overcome a challenge and stuff like that. Because sometimes a little bit of extra movement is potentially needed to go to the next level, or the reduction within a calorie, thing is needed. And that's the thing is but understanding what you or I, the client, wants is the need and wants have got to come to the forefront to overcome those challenges every time.
No, I love that, Jonathan. And I think like the honesty in there of, at the end of the day, you have to do the work, and you can have the program, you can have the coach, you can know the metrics, you can do whatever. But at the end, if you're not doing it, as you say, it does come back to you. So where do you need, as you say, kind of some of that self-awareness, build those new habits, get that consistency in there. And I noticed that when you mentioned like the stress and everything, like I get to a certain point and then I plateau and it's like, okay, well, I can't lose any more here now, or I start to kind of dip in the consistency or whichever, and it's like, well, what is going on? And for me, my stress levels at the best of times aren't great, but I hadn't realized how much stress my body has genuinely actually been holding on to, and then some things that weren't actually working in keep and doing, and then that's where then like the adapt happens and so on, to notice what's happening with your client. And as you say, then even from like an emotional side of things and everything, God almighty, like yeah, I came, I've said this to coach before, like I came to lose the belly, and never in a million thoughts did I think I would be here. And by here I mean even with thinking of me and everything, and growing business and all that kind of thing. So there's a huge personal development journey even within becoming who you need to be to manage those metrics, as you say, and kind of being open to learning and taking the help of coach with yourself, and as you say, doing the hard work with someone is what I'm hearing there. That in coming to you, and for our friends listening, it's Jonathon_Hickey. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook for socials, and see some of that, the proof of, and I see the work of what you do with your clients. I see the hard work that you put in every week, and the care like that, as knowing you know that anyway. And even as you're speaking today as well, the coach does know best. And that's a hard lesson, I think, too. When you started, Jonathan, I know you said you always had the ball in that, but when did you really kind of say, this is something I want to go down in doing for other people? And what kind of coaches or mentors did you kind of come across when you were starting out?
Yeah, so like there was something I was going to say there, and it was based off your last point before we get into this one, but it'll come back to me.
Please, sorry.
It'll come back to me in a moment. But obviously, to answer this question and stuff like that, mentors, investing, and personal development has been a massive thing. I've made some investments and stuff like that. People will know, people won't know. Potentially, maybe it's the first time I maybe spoke about it in the podcast. Signed up to. I'll start with the bad and then I'll go back to the good. There's probably two bad things. But, I signed up to a mentoring crew, whatever. Won't mention names for obvious reasons. Because of I had someone I had looked up to in the industry, and I had someone that I have a picture with, and I was like, oh, they're doing incredible things and they're helping others. They're like me, and I had friends and stuff that were in said mentoring, but friends in the said mentoring and stuff that weren't mentioning potentially the cracks. No one mentions the cracks. Do you know what? Even with my own business and stuff like that, there's things, whatever. As I said and I alluded to there, some people just genuinely don't lose weight. Why? Because now is not the time. Now is the time to look after themselves, get fit, get stronger, get healthier, and not lose weight. Losing weight doesn't mean that you're healthy. Just
definitely.
Investment. So like that, I invested heavily. It was like $6,000 straight off the bat during COVID. Put myself into like a least favorite position, and then it was after 90 days for $6,000, whatever. It was, I think 1,100 a month. So like again, it's obviously I'm renting and stuff like that, whatever. And I had like a kid on the way, and like that again, it went downhill straight away because I was palmed off to I thought I was directly going to be working with said individual. Was passed off to some success coach, and there's an awful lot of that happening now. Some are good, obviously for me it wasn't, and that kind of broke my trust with individuals. Why? Because like that again is like you prayed, and then like that again is bully boy tactics were involved and stuff like that. In terms of when I reached out and I sent an email to the top head guy, it wasn't him that had the decency to message me back, whatever, or email me back. He got his minion, unfortunately, and that's who I'm referring to him as, because he's a minion and whatever. And I spoke about this individual yesterday to somebody, and he was like, "Fuck's sake, John." He said, "I did not realize that happened." And I said, "Yeah, they were going to come after me and stuff like that, whatever, to repossess my car, repossess my home. For anybody's listening, I'm renting, not my home. You want to come and repossess it, you're repossessing somebody else's home." But all of these tactics that were being used, whatever. Why? Because like that again is the only thing that they were so bothered about was the coin, the dollars, the Benjamins, and everything in between. Why? So they can live their own luxurious, lavish lifestyle and portray these things. Didn't tell you about the bad things. You go look on the socials and stuff like that, whatever, and it's like all of these things. Oh, client is doing 50k a month, 10k a month, and all this crack. And like that again, uh, when I went to leave, obviously before it got to that stage, whatever, I'd reached out to a couple of guys, and one couple of lads were like, "John, just go. It's nothing but a reptile cesspit. Get out while you can. You will absolutely despise the industry if you stay." And I was starting to turn that, was resenting and stuff like that, doing certain things, whatever. Why? Because I was following their unorthodox, unethical ways of trying to help people or engage with people. So like again, it's like that, like is like I said, do your due diligence, and when it comes to investing in coaching, in mentors and stuff like that. And that's just one side. But for me and stuff like that, mentors have always played a pivotal role. I have a coach and always have. Um, why? Because I did again is number one, they cut they cut the learning curve. Number two and stuff like that, you learn from them and stuff like that as well. And then number three is like, why do we have coaches? Is because it makes us better coaches, and then it holds you accountable. It calls you out on your own BS,
Yeah.
to be brutally honest, and then it gets you to push like you would, as I said, like I would with my clients. He does with me. So mentors have always had it, but um, back in the day and stuff like that would have been started back what 2016. So I like had like the other negative experiences. What with another coach who we spoke about yesterday, at an event. I was speaking with an individual, and he was like, "Oh, how did you get into the whole physique thing, whatever?" And I was like, "Well, no, I wanted to do something. I wanted to test myself, step outside my comfort zone. So I did. Enlisted in a coach. Within 4 weeks, everybody's absolute buzzword is like, yeah, you're going to drop X amount of weight. I had dropped like nearly a stone and a half in 4 weeks. It
Wow.
wasn't. It wasn't great. Why? Because to envision the goal, I wanted to step on stage. So in order
Yeah.
to be competitive and stuff like that, I needed to have a little bit more muscle mass on my body. So, aka, with people that may or not understand, the muscle mass is just looking a little bit buffer.
Yeah.
So, trying away the body fat and whatever. But the route I was going down, I was going to look like, God forgive me, the next advert for a Troker box. And that was just the easiest way to describe it. And that is not what you want um, when it comes to where you want to go with your goals. And I had talked to two other guys in the gym, and I was like, "Do you mind if I ask you? I know I'm not paying you and stuff. Like, you just wouldn't have a look at me and stuff. Um, wanting to do a physique show, and I just think I'm going down maybe the wrong route. And at this time, I was a coach, but I wanted to enlist
Yeah.
in a coach and stuff to help speed up the process, whatever. And the two coaches turned around and said, "John, run as far as way you can, because you've got to have more meat on the body, aka the muscle mass, to be a competitive." And like that again, as I relayed this back to this message back to the coach, whatever, and it was in a nice way. It wasn't to bash him or whatever.
So,
It was to challenge him a small bit. Why? Because he had to realize that he wasn't dealing with an ordinary Joe Soap, or gen population client, that actually had studied fitness. I did whatever, and he's like, "Well, do you know what you can do now, pal? You can go with said coach." I was like, I'm just asking you a question here.
Yeah.
You know, like he had me weighing out spinach. For anybody that doesn't know, spinach potentially has no weight, whatever. You know, it's like a blade of grass. It just floats. And like that again is that like that stemmed like so like I have a message and stuff like that as well that that I keep at the forefront of my phone here beside me, and it's he turned around to me and said, "You don't have a marketable look. Yes, I understand. I don't look like Brad Pitt or any of these, whatever, and I understand that, whatever. Probably have a face for radio, and that's perfectly fine. That suits me. Um, but it was the thing of he just didn't like to be challenged. So I was like, right, that's grand. He said, I didn't want it to come to this, whatever, but obviously, you don't like what I've said. So obviously the coaching relationship obviously has been severed. So went my merry way, whatever. And then that kind of was the catalyst to kind of uh, drive and push forward because you use that negativity as fuel, as fire, to push and drive. And then like I reached out to a chap, whatever, and he said, "Look, listen, John, I'm not taking on any people, but I know someone that will, and someone that will steer you in the right direction." And that person, we've been incredible friends. I've had him on the podcast as well. Is Brian Keane. Brian
Okay.
Brian started the trajectory upwards then and stuff like that. Like, you know, I've met me. Never forget walking into the gym down in Galway City Gym. It's like the bodybuilding of Mecca gyms down that side. And he was doing his cardio. He got off his cardio and stuff when he seen me walk in, and he was like, "Oh, welcome to the Mecca on the west side." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you," whatever. And we went through the formalities and things and set the boundaries and all that kind of jazz that it is. And since then, we've worked together in terms of business. As I said, we've become good friends and all of that. But that started off with an investment on myself, in somebody else to help me. I like that again is like it's paid off and stuff over the years. I like that again as I've continually done. I did a personal training mentorship over in the UK, so I'm not one for like just resting on my laurels and stuff, whatever. And went to the UK and won a prestigious crew over there, M10, worked over there and stuff like that, like learning the craft in terms of like a 6 month intensive mentorship every month, over for 2 days over to Nottingham. That helped with my coaching capacity and stuff like that as well. As I said, other coaches to lead me along the way then as well. And that's the thing. People are afraid of investing when it comes to it. Why? Yes, because if you take my two negative experiences, because they've got burnt. They've been promised something oversold, overpromised and underdelivered. Like that again is, but like that again is, was it for me not doing the work on myself with the two negative experiences? No, I was doing the work, but what was said to me and stuff like that was not lived up to in my eyes. And like that again is speaking to others that were in a similar position, the exact same for them. One lad that I actually know that had a negative experience, he ended up leaving the fitness industry because it got into his head so mentally. And like that again, that's an awful shame to say that, as the coach, you go to a coach to be helped or a mentor
Yeah.
to be helped, not to be degraded or all of these things, but people are afraid for that reason. I understand that. So as I say, you've got to do your due diligence when it comes to investing and in yourself as a person, as an individual, as your business, all of these things. And I said, I'm not afraid to drop money or whatever, like because it will be potentially, hopefully, fingers crossed, reciprocated back, and which it does, with it, and that's the thing. But as I'll put it a different way when it comes to health, is like, do you want to be to people listening to this, like, if you are thinking about starting your journey, and obviously maybe Lauren will ask questions further in a little while, is do you want to be on your sick bed
Yeah.
wishing that you had potentially A, gone for that walk, A, signed up to that coach, A, started now, not Monday or not the new year, and that's not a thing to say, hey, come coach and whatever, but don't put it off. If
100%.
if it feels right, just go for it because lean into it. Lean into the discomfort. If you lean into the discomfort, you're going to be challenged. You're going to come outside your comfort zone. You're going to grow, and it don't mean you're going to get bigger than potentially than you are or you see yourself. Because like again, you don't identify as being bigger, but you'll put the work in. You'll invest in yourself, and you'll reap the rewards down the line. And like that again, as I say, some people just don't lose weight. That's perfectly fine because number one, they know themselves that it's not it's not a you problem, it's a them problem because they don't want to they don't want to be judged, and they're not going to tell you. Unfortunately, that's just unfortunate. And I said, like, I've had that before. I was like, as a person wasn't losing weight or whatever, and she turned around to me and she said, the only pounds that I seem to be losing is the pounds out of my pocket. And I was like, well, do you know what? I said, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I just said, look, that's perfectly fine. I'll refund you. Perfect. Good. Because I don't want your money. And like that again, there was the kickback then. It was like, no, 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 no. I want to keep coaching. It was like, no, 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 no. It said, like, the relationship has been broken here now
Yeah.
because you're saying that what I'm providing isn't adequate. So that was grand. I got an email 6 months later from said individual, and it was like, I wasn't being honest.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I didn't
but
have
that
to.
was nice that she came back. Sorry, I said she. I don't know if it's she or he, but it was
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
that the
yeah.
honesty
Like,
came back.
yeah, the honesty came back, but that's what it always like stems through is that I know my coach, whatever and stuff like if things not shifting and moving, I'm not being honest with him. So like
Yeah.
that again is I'll hold my hand up. But as I said, like I was like I didn't take for me to be detective Sherlock and stuff like that to be to
Yeah.
understand that. But like then, as if that person had said to me, "Look, hey, or, well, I'm not doing what you're saying." Maybe it was a
Yeah.
little bit complex. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe she just needed to concentrate on something a little bit smaller. But without her saying and just jumping because like she was unwilling to do the work, that's unfortunate. So and that's just the thing. The people have got to understand that as well. Like like you can have the best laid design, you can have the best laid program, you can have the best of whatever, a better coaching service. But like that again is if the person is not doing a work and stuff like that in the capacity that they're saying that they're doing it, well then you're not going to get the result that you sought after.
Yeah. Jonathan, there's so many thoughts there. And for friends listening, like, I think coming back again to like seeing results and seeing like it's two different industries. We're the same industry of helping people, but two different niches altogether. But when you come and you look at either before and after pictures, if you're looking specifically maybe at physique things, or you're looking at testimonies or whatever it is, like one approach I take with thinking of me and when anybody comes is we actually do what's called like the rocking chair vision, where it's kind of as you say there, well, what do you actually want? Do you want to be on your deathbed and looking back? And what do you actually want to have seen? Did you actually go on that trip? Did you, do the thing with work? Did you have that relationship? Whatever it is, that's important. And when you can't make that decision for anybody else, but when you do get that stirred up enough, and I can only speak, again, and I know you said it there as well. Like we do have those moments where like, no, I have to, like I'm going in for it and I'm going looking for the help, or someone has said no to me in a way and it's put fire under my arse and I'm like, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. And they're great pulls or pushes, sorry, for definite, or when you've that pull enough to go somewhere and do what it is what you want to do. That honesty with yourself is where it starts, and that's where the results are. And yeah, as I say, you said a few things there, but I really heard like if there is a negative experience with a coach, and I'm going to say this, like there's huge ego in the industry, like huge ego, and that really just comes from maybe something that hasn't been learned, or they haven't maybe gone that far themselves, and you can only bring someone as far as you've been yourself. And if there's something that is coming up like with you there where you know maybe a little bit more than coach, or like than the teacher in the classroom, or a little bit more than the parent in the house, whatever it might be, you have more experience than the person you're sitting opposite talking to about this, and they're trying to tell you how you should feel or whatever it might be, like whatever kind of niche it is that you're in having that conversation, whatever realm it might be. You can definitely go, well, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this like all on my own. And in order to be successful, I think you can learn the hard way that you do actually at some stage need to go, hey, will you teach me your way? And as you said there, like coach shortens the gap, or what would you say it there, that they cut the learning, they accelerate that process and all that kind of thing. And any coach, if you're in this in any way, shape, or form, if you're a friend listening that, you know, is doing this yourself, then you know what I mean there by kind of starting to go, okay, I'm going to do this my way now. But if you're someone who's learning from someone and kind of has that desire to, it's probably because it's not that they're doing necessarily anything wrong. It's just that they're bringing you as far as they're able to in what they've learned up to now. And I'm really conscious of that with, like, there's men, I'm working with some male clients and that, and there's men that come to me, you know, with certain areas, and I'm like, I can't help you, you know, and that's where you kind of let the ego go of going, this is maybe where you should learn. And yeah, as you, with your story there, like with that case of, well, it's not like, fuck you, off you go. You know, it's having that kind of care of knowing that, like, this is someone that is in front of you. And it sounds like you found the right people after that, Jonathon. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if we can bring them into the room a little bit without kind of too much of their privacy or that, because they're only little. But I love seeing how you're rearing your little two with the mindset and with the habits and that now. I know we chatted about it when I was on with you, Jonathon, but maybe for our friends listening here, you know, what's that like in having your family around you with your work and with this industry and everything?
To give you the real answer, it's absolutely horrendous. I'm only messing. No. It's the reason on which everything is built and is continued to be progressed in terms with them. But obviously, before going into that, obviously what you've mentioned there, in terms of you're going to bring someone so far, and then I'll obviously get into bringing in the smallies, is that's where it's incredible to refer out, because the person will reciprocate that thankfulness and stuff like that of you referring out and staying in your lane. Like, I'm not a surgeon. I'm not going to try and operate
Yeah.
on somebody inside in the studio. I'm going
Yeah.
to, I think you should go to the doctor. You know, it's that thing, and you know, you have to know when to step away. But obviously, bringing it back to your point, but I obviously had that in my head and wanted to say it to you. With the crew, yeah, as I said, it's action packed. They're a big part of my life. They are the reasoning why I do what I do. From obviously my wife Lisa and stuff, like, who you know. For those that don't know and stuff, like, she's a hairdresser. We're both self-employed and stuff like that, so that's great crack. Trying to get a mortgage. But we're in the process and stuff like that of building our futures together. In terms of obviously the two little ones and stuff like that, mini me's, as everyone says, is Molly and Josh. So Molly is like 3.5. Josh is 17, 18 months. Without those three people, obviously, yes, the cheesy thing, whatever, between or behind every great man, there's a strong woman. That's true.
Yeah.
It is, like, because like she's the backbone and stuff like that, and she'll help me to kind of make decisions, or I'll make decisions sometimes, whatever, and then I'll tell her after, because I don't want to suffer the consequences beforehand. Especially when it could be a timing of the month for the lady listeners. It's not a good idea to approach with, hey, I think we're going to do this. But like that again is, without them, as like, you know, it's not a pity thing. Without them, I wouldn't be anything. Why? Because it's helped me elevate myself, my presence and stuff like that as well. People will say to me, "Oh, it's great, whatever. You know, you're such a whatever dad," and I was like, "Yeah, thanks very much." And that's why, because I try to spend as much, and I have to get them to understand why the mommy and daddy go to work is so that they can have the things that they do have, and the things that they don't have. They've got to understand the values and stuff like that, that they can't just always get what they want. But for those that like that are listening to this whenever it does, as I said, does go out on the 18th of December and bring in Molly to her very first cup game over in St James's Park. Anybody doesn't know, I'm a big Newcastle fan. Molly has been 6 times. This will be her 7th. Her mother's been once. Was going to bring Josh, but unfortunately the game is later in the evening. It's a quarter to 8 kickoff. But like then is, I'm getting to share precious moments that nobody, absolutely nobody, can take away from me. And that's why I do the things that I do with them. When Molly was 6 months old, we hiked. She was strapped to me to the front, and we hiked Croagh Patrick together. As far as I'm aware, I don't think any other 6 month baby. And yeah, she didn't hike, but she was up to the top. She summited Croagh Patrick. And I'll never forget the thing from an individual coming down as I was coming down, because it's quite steep, for people that have done it. They turned around to me and they're like, and he was like, can you please just can you just stop for a second? I was like, oh yeah, you want to pass me? Yeah, because I want to pass you because I have visions and stuff like of you falling with your baby. And I was like, no, it's grand, it's all right, it's perfectly fine. And next thing he's like, no. He said, I'd feel more comfortable if I was in front of you, not knowing, whatever. So I just let him off, and it was just putting him at unease, like that up there. But like that again is like, we've shared incredible things together, like with even Josh and stuff. What now when I come in, whatever, he like it's the ball, whatever. So like it's straight away something that I would have done. I can only presume. I've never asked my mother and stuff like that as a baby. Ball. Obviously, I did it in my younger years, but as a baby, was that what I was doing? Those things. Don't see any fear. None of them see any fear and stuff like that. And that's a thing. I'm not saying this is how you parent and stuff like this. Is just me. If you project fear onto your kids, they're going to feel it. They're going to. It's going to sit with them. It's going to manifest in their brains. If my kids want to stand on top of the table, whatever, I'll say, yeah, get down. But like then, if they're up there and having a bit of crack, whatever, I'll put my hands up where this laptop is now. It's on the kids' table. Jump, and everyone's like, don't jump. We'll be going to A&E. We won't be going to A&E because it's not a trust process. It's like jump, I'll catch you, you'll be safe, and that's the thing. And I've always done it. Like they do things and stuff like that. Like they're a big part of coming out to the gym with me. We stick on the tunes, whatever, and stuff, and they're dancing. uh, Josh hanging out of the chin up bars and stuff. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, that's when you hang out at the bars in gym, whatever, and you pull yourself up. So he can hang out with him. Molly can hang out with him. You know, and it's those things that I get to be able to do, but because it's what they're the reason why. And why do I have a big thing in fitness? Is because I don't want to be the dad and stuff like that that is hiding away at the swimming pool, is not being able to go to the kids' soccer game, is not being able to bring them to whatever, is shying away from doing certain things because of like how I look, how I feel, all of these things, whatever. Don't like I have no issue and stuff like that. As I said, I'm bringing Molly away, whatever. I'm bringing her away. People are like, oh my god, that would be my worst nightmare because I can't drink pints. Well, then your values are slightly different to what? Because just to have a good time doesn't necessarily mean you've got to get absolutely wasted. Yes, we all love to get wasted from time to time, and that's perfectly fine. But like that again is if when your values don't align, that is the reason why you're putting yourself on the back foot. That's the reason potentially why you're uh, agitated or will I say angry? Yes, or you're elevating your voice. Yes, we have to elevate our voice as parents and stuff like that. Hey, get down, stop, don't do that, because yeah, you have to teach them boundaries. But like, if you're constantly and stuff like that, that's all the kid hears. Then, Jesus Christ, here comes that lad. He's barking at me again, and that's the thing. Like, but as I said, like, no, Lisa's incredibly great with them and stuff like that as well. In terms because obviously when I work with the coaching and stuff like that is like she usually puts them to bed. Obviously, usually on Fridays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays as well. I have like 45 minutes of a gap and stuff like that, and I'll be able to put them to bed. I like that again because obviously it's a different face, whatever. Obviously, and that's the thing. But without them, as a whole, you wouldn't see what you see here now, unfortunately. And it gives you a deeper meaning and stuff like that to live in life. As I heard on a podcast, or she was on my podcast, a lovely lady, Yvonne, won't pronounce her second name because I'll only butcher it. Um, she turned around to me and she said, how about, now I didn't say this, but she said, how about we as parents change the narrative? Rather than say, I die for my kids, how about reframing and sharing and going, I live for my kids? And it's such a much more better way of putting something. And that's the thing. Too many, people will say to me and stuff, what are you going to do and stuff like if the kids don't want to do the gym or they don't want to do or whatever. I said, that's perfectly fine. If they both turn out to be and there's nothing wrong with emo kids or goths, but I'm just using that because that's come to my head or whatever. If they want to go down that route and they want to do whatever, and that's perfectly fine. That's grand. But like that again is that won't happen because why? Um, Maybe they will, but monkey see, monkey do. The traits and the positive habits that have been instilled at a younger age will live with them. They see it and stuff like that. They'll eat what I eat, whatever. And my nutrition and stuff like is pretty boring and bland, um, because I think it's simple as best for me and stuff like that when it comes to it. And but without them, as I said, and it's obviously without Lisa and stuff and the incredible things that she does as a wife and as a partner and as a mother and stuff like that, it's great. Why? Because we can do things together. And like again, it's not all hunky dory. Don't get me wrong. We have arguments and whatever. That's just natural. And anybody that says different and tries to portray something else on Instagram, and guilty of it sometimes, it's not like that. I promise you, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
But
there
it's finding
is.
the comeback. It's being able to have the dynamic of what a relationship is like. And sorry
And
to
that's
cut in on you on that, but like I remember even before you were engaged, and sure like that, like it's just as you say, it is a natural thing, and with all the love to you and to Lisa, like with fiery spirits, in the best way, that's going to happen. But that's not to say that it doesn't mean you can't. You don't. You're not a team. Sorry to jump in on what you were
You're all
saying there,
right.
but
But that's the thing, is it like like you have to have that and stuff because it like is if you don't and stuff like that, like there's a disconnect and stuff like that. And yes, like some people can be airy fairy and blowing smoke up each other's bums and stuff like that, whatever. That's perfectly fine. But like as I said, like what you say, like I don't change for anybody, unfortunately, and that's maybe a downfall and stuff like that. Whatever, don't like you, don't see what you don't like what you see. That's tough. That's perfect. Whatever, because like that again is just as much as like people will come to me. Some people will see me and they're like, "Oh my god, that lad absolutely repulses me." That's perfectly fine because you're not meant for me then. That's perfectly fine. Somebody else will come in the door in some shape, way, or form. And that's the thing with it. But like that again is when you've got the two characteristics of because people are quite strong minded, obviously in the terms of the two of us, and that's just it. That's what makes it work. And as I
yeah,
said, yes, there's rows, arguments, everything in between, but that's just life and stuff like that. You've got to work through it as best as you obviously possibly can, to get the best out of each other. And that's the thing. You're just trying to get the best out of each other, without it obviously going to pot.
no, for definite, and that pushing to grow. And I think like when I started to learn that, like when it comes to like all things relationships, like whether it's relationship with food, relationship with other people, romantic, otherwise with family, it's if it's not written, like you're not coming with each other to grow, and that's what creates the gap then. And that's where like that you're conspiring with each other, you're competing with each other to keep bringing things up. And I love that with the idea, it's not the idea, the reality that like by not showing fear, and I don't know, and it's not to comment or to say, but if those moments where you're pushing each other, and where there's a conflict in that, and but knowing that you have a strong value that for Molly and Josh to not see fear, that's so important for also their idea of what relationship is in terms of like that parent, but then also as you say, eating the same food that you eat, what the relationship with like that trust and jump kind of thing is like I've seen Molly on some of your socials. I remember there was a video she was on one of those kids climby things, and like that there's like, yeah, and my instant reaction was like, oh my god, she's going to fall, and but then unlearning that to go, no, she can handle her own. And I know that because and for my friends listening, that's ever been following, and if you haven't up to now, that's the kind of crux of my whole journey really, is unlearning all the things from childhood, and that's not to say, with my parents and with my grandparents, it's not to say that like no one was doing the best they could, because like that people can bring you as far as they know themselves and all that kind of thing. And I'm not saying it's not without love, but like as you say, habits and certain habits and certain mindsets, they do last. They do last. And yeah, I think that's great that like where you have the time obviously with them, and then what that's going to mean for them later. And as you say, they do forge their path and make their choices. And really, like with clients, I find it is very much the vulnerability is the same, I think. Like you are actually coming nearly like a child. I've come as a client, like nearly as like a child going, tell me what I'm meant to do here. And yeah, so I think the two go very hand in hand. Now I have no children of that myself, but for our friends that are listening, when this is out, Jonathan will be in the new year. So like that, all things now ahead of Christmas and knowing what's coming up at Christmas season. And I know like that with trips and no more than yourself, Molly, going away and everything else. And kind of as we mentioned with New Year and people deciding, oh, you know, don't wait till New Year, don't wait till a certain time. Like if you want to do something to make a change, now's the time. What would you say to someone who's maybe not quite at that, I know I'm ready to, but they're like, something has to change and I don't really know where to start? Because New Year can sometimes be a very strange place to navigate sometimes, whether it's at the start or even coming towards the end of the month, you know, those January blues and that kind of thing. What would you maybe say to a friend listening?
There's the two things and stuff. Obviously, one thing for that, and then obviously something that you've addressed, which obviously in terms of, as you said there, because obviously I know how pivotal your grandparents are, and obviously your parents have shaped your life. Is I think as individuals and stuff like that, that's why we do what we do. Is because we're looking back and reflecting on, unfortunately, stuff that we have wanted potentially from our childhoods and stuff, and it's to unlock that. But I don't think you can move forward unless you acknowledge that or are aware of it. And that's the thing. Like my parents gave me everything. No,
Yeah,
like that again.
same.
Parents gave me everything, and that's the thing. Like whatever we wanted, we got whatever, and that was perfectly fine. But like that again is like dad, like I've got his work ethic and stuff like that, like say my mom and stuff like work ethic. But like that again is certain things, that, as I say, when I went away and did a retreat and stuff, before I get into answer your question, is it was that I had to be aware of why I was doing what I was currently doing. I was like kind of pushing and thinking I can do everything myself, but it's because of like that again. I was trying to do what my parents did, and like it's a generational thing. It's a generational trauma and stuff like that. That's the unfortunate state of things. But like we want something from our childhood that we want in our current lives, and that's the thing that as I said, both dynamics for both of us and stuff like that is is they have shaped their lives in a positive way. I would say. But in terms of what I would say to people in terms of doing is just feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like just do it. Whatever, reach out to that person, send that message. Don't write the message and
Yeah.
then re-script it 10 times before you send it, because like that again is, as I say, if you don't send it, you're never going to know what you're truly capable of doing. And yes, and I know things, times, whatever, can be financially difficult and stuff like that, whatever. But if it's of a higher priority of you or for you, you'll make a way. Why? Because you'll do your utmost and stuff like that to get out of that rut, stop feeling the way you're feeling, and like that again is sometimes, yes, we need a little bit of a kick up the backside, and the nudge in the right direction in a positive way and stuff like that. Why? Because you have played the victim mentality mindset for long enough. I see it now and stuff like that. People that are friends and follow me and stuff like that, whatever. And like something was up. Love yourself anyway. It doesn't matter what. That's perfectly fine. But like again is you weren't saying that this time last year, and you're still in the same position. You're saying that because that makes you feel good. That's perfectly fine. That makes you feel good. But deep down and deep rooted, that's not. And like this year is going to be my year. And what about 23? What about 22? What about 21? What about 20, 19, 18, 19 or 17? What about all those years? Then you said that to yourself. Like, so keep telling yourself the story. And it's not like to come across and stuff like that. It's easy for him. I am the least motivated person to go and train. Before jumping on the podcast with Lauren, I had to pull myself away because I was looking outside and it was torrential rain. I went and trained. I feel 10 times better about it. That's it, chalked off, and we move. And that's the thing. Is you gotta just feel the fear and do it anyway. But if you're consistently telling yourself an internal narrative, oh yeah, I'm great. And if you do love yourself, power to you. But I know that's absolutely complete and utter lies. Why can I say that? And just in my opinion, is because of what I see people put out. Put out all the positivity quotes you want in the world. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Kaput. And that's, I'd probably go off on a rant on it, but that's the reason why is because, like that again, is people like we use my clients as the example. Every one of them, I have picked up the phone to try and ring you 10 times before actually coming. I said, I'm not the Gruffalo. I'm not like an abominable snowman. I'm not going to tear you limb from limb, as you can see. Yeah, but I was just terrified. I was like, yeah, but just now you see on the other side of being terrified what you've been able to achieve, what you've been able to unlock. And like that again is some of these people have started in Jan or December and stuff like that. Why? Like that again is because they come, they meet, they see, and as I'm only saying to you what my clients say to me in terms of like what comes out of my mouth because they are the things. They were the ones putting up the positivity quote. Feel yourself, love yourself, do it anyway. And like that again is they're like, that was a load of lies. I was deeply unhappy. I I filled my dress, whatever. I was fat and frumpy. I was like, okay. So that's the thing, and like that's the reason why I say things in certain messages or whatever on my messaging and stuff online is because of that reason. Is because it's not what I'll put my spin on it and my words obviously, but any the kind of and I wanted I wanted to come across in terms, Lauren, with in a nice way and stuff like that. But any the kind of negative association what people have with themselves, fat, frumpy, disgusting, embarrassed, whatever, the, whatever they want to describe themselves as. Chunky is another one, or someone said to me recently, chub rub was another one. And I was, if you feel all those things, you don't have to feel that way, or you don't have to be that way. I said things can change, and that's the thing with it. Is you just gotta you gotta lean into it, and like a me of the world or a Lauren of the world and stuff like that, can help you unblock and unlock those things. Why? Because we are where you want to be, and we've been where you have been, and that's the thing. We've been uncomfortable. I've been uncomfortable like that again. Like it's like,
I'm still uncomfortable, but it's good because we're growing. But
and that's
sorry.
the thing. Yeah, but that's the thing, with it, and it's like as I say, and it's just one of my things. Just because when I see people personally and stuff, and I see them, from the phone and stuff like that, whatever, to put up the latest positivity quote, I'm like, oh, stop, please, stop, because that's not you. You can put on the smile, but behind that smile is a broken smile, and that's the harsh reality of it.
And it all comes down to that, I think, Jonathan, like as you say, it's like, what is your feeling? And for a friend listening, like, this is not to say that you have to weigh a certain amount or fit in a certain dress size, or, for guys that you have to, I don't even know the right term, this goes to show you, weight is good, isn't it? Like when you're heavier because you're gains, I don't know. Yeah, it's not to say that the physique has to be in any certain way or and all that kind of thing, but it's how are you feeling about it? And, I'd have seen that. I've known that with myself, and I've seen that in others, where it doesn't, like, their weight is one part of them, but when you can really see the struggle, and I speak for myself on this, where it's like, I'm just not happy, and that's where that feeling is. And, there's times where, it's the last thing that's on my mind, because it's not the overarching. So wherever that feeling is coming from it, and I suppose that's what I'd like to say to anyone listening as well. And Jonathan, I know it's the exact same message, that if there's a feeling that's coming up that something isn't sitting right, whether it's body image or there's something more there, and there are the people like ourselves who have been there and know that feeling and know how to get you into a different place. And if it's not me or Jonathan, there's a whole industry and there's all the supports that are there for that. And just on that with the positivity and the quotes and all that, like, mindset is everything. Like, physiology first, but it's whatever's going on upstream. So, well, as you say, if you're posting, the happy smiley and you're not the happy smiley, it's not really working. So maybe there's a different narrative. And as you said, there's Jonathan, like it's the story you're telling yourself. Like when I started to hear my story, I was like, oh my God, like Lauren, that's not, the two of these aren't matching up here. So yeah, is there a way that like what reframing needs to happen? And yeah, I hope like Jonathan, like with the process, I hope maybe what would you say, and as I feel like we're really full circle here in this, like what from where we started today, what would you say is the number one habit or that you would recommend to all your clients, or you'd recommend to anyone who's trying to make a change?
The number one is obviously, it's a great question and it's tough obviously to answer because there's so many different variables and stuff like that with it. But I'm going to go out on a whim and say whatever is your mindset has got to be, if the foundation, you got to think of your starting process in terms of building a house. It's got to have a good foundation and stuff like that. If your mind is not in it, unfortunately, no matter what you do, the behavioral change that comes behind it is not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be solidified. Why? Because you're after a quick fix, and that's the thing. Quick fixes, unfortunately, don't do anything. So I'd say you've got to like reframe what is meaningful to you, and you've got to have an anchor, but that will deal with your mindset and with it, so it's in a good and great position. And that's obviously probably, yes, it's the number one thing I'll say to people. But from like maybe from a lifestyle factor and stuff like that, as I'll say, it's not just the nutrition and stuff like that. The success on which all things will be built is the foundation of sleep. So if the sleep is not of quality, because I say it to people and stuff like that, if people have said to me when I asked them to fill in the health questionnaire, how many hours sleep? 8. How do you wake up feeling? How do you feel up waking in the morning? Shit. Well then, I said, well, that sleep was not quality sleep. I said, I'd rather you sleep 5 hours and that be great quality sleep rather than 8 hours and getting up feeling groggy and you're wiping the dust out of your eyes and stuff. So like I would say that, and it's that big thing. It's so simple. Yes, I understand that complexity sells, and that's the thing. The more complex a subject is and the thing it has to be, the better somebody thinks it's got to be. But the simplistic approach with the simplest of things and habits, the easiest thing is always the most frictional. Why? Because the person thinks it's too good to be true. And I did again, if your sleep is off, your energy is going to be off, your mood's going to be off, you're going to pick at shit, you're not going to want to train, you're going to have every excuse underneath the sun, and that's just 5. So the knock-on effect of those things, whatever. Yes, and to the parents and stuff that are potentially listening to your thing, is like, I understand that. But like that again, is your kids are not attached to you 24/7. If you want to nap for 20 minutes, go and nap. It'll help you recharge. It's not going to buy back anything. But like that again, is it's helping you and serving you, and that's the thing. So as I say, like from a lifestyle thing and stuff like that, it would be the sleep as the number one. And then obviously everything else filters in then your nutrition training and self-care, compassion, meditation, whatever the case is. And then from a gold standard and stuff is your mindset, because it's the foundation on which everything is built.
Love that, Jonathan. On that, I have to go train. And I no more want to. But as you say, it's a feeling afterwards, and the discipline and everything that comes with it. And they're all things I wouldn't have learned if it hadn't been physiology first and I hadn't been going to training that first. And thank you so much, as I say. So for our friends again listening, it's Jonathon_Hickey on Instagram and Facebook, and Built by JH Fitness on Facebook and his podcast. And like that, Jonathan, you've always been such good crack and so approachable, but also I know the passion that you have for what you do, and it's obvious in chatting today and in your daily weekly work, in what you share and what you do out there. So I can only say 2025, I know it's only a number whether it's whatever month, I do think all these metrics, when you look at timelines like that, if it starts now, I know you're already doing great things, and I know 2025 is only going to I hope keep and that growth for you and for Lisa and the kids and that. And I want to wish you all the best moving forward. And sure, you might come on again somewhere down the line.
We will, and as I said, just like obviously I'd like to say to you and obviously to listeners, thanks very much for obviously taking the time out of your day to listen. It's been a pleasure to come on and stuff like that, and hopefully somebody's been able to take some golden nugget out of the rants and the waffle and stuff like that there, that'll help serve you and move you forward.
Anton, thank you so much. There's definitely lots of nuggets. And again, as I say, I really appreciate it. Thanks, friend, for listening to the Thinking of Me podcast. I hope you found something within our story today that lands for you. You can keep up with us on Thinking of Me blog, Thinking of Me coaching, and Lauren Jean on socials. Go to thinkingofmecoaching.com/checklist for your checklist for self-fulfillment. Until our next chat, talk soon, my friend.